So thank you for the opportunity to be here today. It is an honor to be able to speak to you, particularly in light of the leading role this conference has played in Canadian and international public policy discussions for almost 80 years. By any economic indicator, Canada is punching above its worldwide economic weight class. It brings me particular pleasure to say this as your 2010 discussions are taking place so soon after, to paraphrase the theme of this conference, a watershed event for this country. That is, the economic summits in Canada that brought world leaders together to set a course for strong and sustainable economic growth. Canada played a pivotal role in drawing out this roadmap to recovery, both in what we did to prepare for a global crisis and the way we responded when it arrived. One of my heroes, Robert Kennedy, once said, "Most of our fellow citizens do their best and do it the modest, unspectacular, decent, natural way, which is the highest form of public service." We also owe our enviable position on how we prepared for the unexpected and how we coped for it when it arrived. Canada had the lowest total government net burden in the G7 at the outset of the crisis. In 2007, before the crisis, Canada's net debt stood at 23% of GDP, which was less than half the G7 average at that point. This prudence means the G20 commitment to cut our deficit in half and reduce our debt to GDP ratio by 2016 is not only possible, we've already set the course to achieve it in our most recent budget. The first time I went to China as Canada's Minister of Finance, I'd been there before as Ontario's Minister of Finance, but as Canada's Minister of Finance was in January 2007, and several times in meetings with my counterparts there, they alluded to the fact that the Canadian banks were risk-averse, too risk-averse, not willing to take on enough challenges. Boring was used. Timid was another word that I heard, at least in translation. I was back in China in August 2009, and then about 6 weeks or so ago. And now when the same counterparts were talking to me about the Canadian banks and financial institutions, they were using words like wise, prudent, stable, solid. And as you know, there are substantial investments being made by certain Asian countries in our country. The World Economic Forum has ranked Canada's banking system as the soundest in the world for 2 consecutive years. Combined with that stability is a highly competitive business tax system and our commitment to free trade. Good morning on the beautiful shores of Lake Couchiching. Let me just make a few remarks, if I may, at the outset about this morning's job numbers and the context of those. We have had significant job gains over the course of the past 6 months. We saw a slight decline in employment in the numbers that were released this morning. Of course, we sympathize with all people who have lost their jobs and who are seeking employment. But as we've said all along, the economic recovery is fragile globally. We are not out of the woods yet. Canada's economy is recovering and is functioning relatively well. Consumer confidence in Canada continues to be strong, and this is in dramatic contrast to the situation in the United States. Full-time employment has increased by about 216,000 since July 2009, and about 177,000 part-time positions as well. So we've recouped most of the jobs we lost during the recession, but we have to stay on the job because the economic recovery remains fragile.
Like how much money the provinces can expect for the transfer to the provinces regarding the new health transfer deal that is negotiated now?
Right. The present arrangement, the accord between the provinces and the Government of Canada is at an increase of 6% per year. We all know that the economies in our country are not growing at 6% per year. We have not reduced transfers. Unlike the Government of Canada, the Liberal Government of Canada in the middle of the 1990s, that reduced transfers by 40% arbitrarily and unilaterally to the provinces, we have not done that. We intentionally have not done that because we know that that brings hardship on the people in healthcare, in social services, and in education. I lived through that. I was a minister in the provincial government in Ontario. I was the Minister of Finance in Ontario. I know what it means when the Government of Canada just slashes transfers to the provinces. We have not done that. We have no intention of doing that. Now we have to have a discussion, and we agreed, the finance ministers agreed in our meeting on Prince Edward Island in June this year that we would have our officials begin the preliminary discussions. The agreement will continue for several years, and of course we will continue to honor it and increase health transfers at 6% over the course of the next several years. Thanks very much.